Happy Vietnamese National Day, everyone! Today is September 2nd, and on this day in 1945, Ho Chi Minh announced to the entire country that Vietnam was independent, baby! And so to celebrate today, I want to talk to you about 3 things you may not know of Vietnamese National Day, also known as Ngày Quốc Khánh. Before we get started, regardless of the political views, this day is significant in that it marks when an official statement was made by a Vietnamese government that I wasn't going to take that colonial bullshit anymore. Now, the first thing you may not know is that on this day in 1945, there were some technical difficulties. You see, Ho Chi Minh's speech was supposed to be broadcasted in Saigon in Notre Dame Square. And there were over 200,000 people in attendance, all with these banners saying, "Long live Vietnamese independence, down with colonialism, praise the Allied powers." They were waving the British, Russian, nationalist Chinese flags and not the French flag. But the thing is, the speech never got played. And some began to speculate it was colonial sabotage. And while all of this is happening, there are French people on their balconies looking down out of fear and anxiety. And this causes, with all this energy up, it just gets released into chaos and violence. As what would eventually happen is that a few French people were killed that day in the chaos. The Viet Minh could not control it. The French officials were in prison, and the Japanese weren't going to take orders from anyone except the Allies. And so I actually read this in Christopher Gosher's book, Vietnam, A New History. He puts it beautifully. He says, on the hot streets of Vietnam that day, you could see the collapse of 2 empires, the Japanese and the French. And so the second thing you may not know is that the Viet Minh, after the speech was given on September 2nd, only held power in the north for 1 year, and down south they only held power for 1 week. But why is that? Well, you see, after the Japanese surrendered, the Allied powers came into Vietnam and split it, with the Chinese nationalists managing up north and the British managing down south. And you see, after a week, the British gave it back to the French, and up north, the Chinese nationalists actually allowed the DRV to continue ruling. And this whole time, the DRV and the French were making negotiations and talks, trying to find a solution for sovereignty. But these eventually dissolves, and it leads into the war in 1946. So then this begs the question, was the August Revolution really a revolution if the Viet Minh only held power for that short amount of time? Well, yes, it was, in the sense that it was a political revolution. It overthrew the old political ways and established something new. And it also established, more importantly, a new way of political thought. You see, because now Vietnamese people recognized that they had an independent country and that they could have the ability to rule themselves. With that kind of mentality, the Vietnamese people would continue to fight for their freedom. So I hope that today we can just commemorate this day as a recognition that from September 2nd, 1945 was the day that Vietnamese people started to really believe and establish for themselves that they had an independent country. And although it would lead to decades and decades of war right after that, at the very least, the political ideologies of Vietnam changed on this day. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a great Vietnamese National Day, and if not, then I hope you guys have a great Labor Day. And at the very least, I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit of history about this day. Again, have a great Vietnamese National Day, guys. I'll see you all next time.